Greg.
Greg.
Okay, let's see here. I am now remembering that I did not come up with clever session titles for Blue Harbor. I just went by the dates.
Yes.
Okay, so the 3rd of chess, the year 949 CE, noon. First report of Lobo W. McCree. The new franchise owners arrived on the Velvet Underwater, captained by Lou Albano Reed, Curdy, the ASMR wizard, the loremonger, May O'Nays, the gnome druid documancer, Drolvrug, the hobgoblin ranger obviator, Geralmon Moros, tiefling sorcerer occultant. Lobo continues, I had introduced them to the sub-employees, Sneck the kobold, and Crackers the kinku.
I won't be able to be there on time.
The following points of interest pointed out. Lady Delmaneve's cabin, an influential representative from Trasm's Merchants Guild. The Hobgoblin Barracks, the standing army and town guard hired by Lady Delmaneve. The Golden Heart's Keep, a hill that houses the Golden Heart dwarf clan. Owenaware's Tavern, run by the brothers Owat and Ohu. The local All Faiths Temple, managed by Mr. Halster Goodsky. Mayor Smith's house, Old Man Smith lives there with his children. The farms, Dwight Autumn Brooks' apple orchard, Brecker Hell's chicken and dairy farm, and Briscoe County's wheat fields. You had Little Findings Salvage, run by Wilshire Littlefound. And the refugee camp housing the few remaining citizens of the now-destroyed city of Blue Harbor, destroyed in an invasion by the Orc Knoll Alliance. After choosing their rooms at the headquarters, the party was made aware that crates from the port, including their own, had been stolen by Shrubbery.
Arthur!
Not far off. The following up with later that afternoon, following the trail of the thieving awakened shrubs, the party is accompanied by the centaur Yori, hauling a cart borrowed from Wilshire. Traveling through the old city, the party buys the friendship of a goblin named Hork, who tells them the basics of his tribe. The awakened plants had bought safe passage through their checkpoint with one of the stolen crates. The party plans to return later to speak to Sitcho, the goblin in charge of the checkpoint. From a caster killed during the war, the party acquires a staff of bird calls. Continuing on the trail, the tracks led to a glade in the center of Windbridge Forest. A half-elf, Amsonia, aka Sonia, Thurfane, protects the area with her mischievous dryad friend, Metalia. Not wanting hostilities between the people of Blue Harbor and the forest, Sonia sees the crates all return to the party. The sun begins to set on the party as they begin their travel home. They are beset by a pack of sturges, which are easily dispatched after Curdy puts them to sleep, along with himself, and May, and Droll. See here. That evening, this will be the third session, Aslan the Leonin made his way through the same enchanted door the rest of the party had arrived through on the ship. So the party was able to travel from the boardroom at Acquisitions Incorporated onto the ship, the Velvet Underwater, through a magical doorway that was being transported to Blue Harbor. The party is still in possession of that magical doorway, so party members can technically travel through that doorway to either go to Acquisitions headquarters in Faerun or to Blue Harbor in Backwater. So the third session is when Aslan the Leonin joined up. He picked out his room at home base before I took him to dinner with Wilshire at Owen's Tavern. Caught him up on the state of things. He had a peaceful encounter with Alzarad Smirk, the hobgoblin captain. Meanwhile, the rest of the party made contact with the goblins at their checkpoint. They reached an agreement, the final stolen crate in exchange for 100 gold pieces or something of equal value. They were also given a crudely drawn map of the old city ruins with several points of interest pointed out. They made their way back to the camp, delivering the crates to their respective owners. The following morning, the party met their intern, Lucas Redmorn. He made them a nice breakfast. Mitra Delmaniv arrived to offer 50 gold pieces as thanks for returning her goods, with another 50 gold pieces promised in exchange for a particular job. Her coachman, Erkin Gostasir, was 4 days late with his latest delivery. After having checked in from Lichgate, the cemetery town only a few days' travel from Blue Harbor. Before setting off, Droll warned the mayor not to chop down the trees from Windbridge Forest. Mayor Oldsman Smith mentioned a lumberyard in the Old City and bandit and monster activity in other nearby forests. Curdy made contact with his acquaintance, Katz. They seemed to be looking for a necromancer named Fox. A few hours along the road, they find Gostasir's wagon. The cargo cleared out, Gostasir dead with a knife wound. They find tracks of a gnome, and ettercaps, leading to a giant spider nest deeper in the forest. After burying Gostasir in the forest, the party traveled to Lichgate, hoping to find clues as to what happened to the coachman. They ended their day at the Peaceful Rest Inn. 5th of chess, morning. The following morning, the party navigates around Lichgate in the rain. Curdy is assured the graveyard is hallowed ground. No undead shall arise from those graves. The party failed to convince the halfling hunter Cordon Blue Cheese to assist in the assault against the giant spiders in the forest, but the local hunters' lodge provided much-needed assistance. Within the forest, the party encountered a blonde gnome woman working with the ettercaps and giant spiders, all apparently serving an unknown party. Who could have hired the greed-crazed gnome and enlisted the ettercaps to steal from Lady Delmaniv? With the stolen goods retrieved, the party salvages Erkin's wagon, spends the night in Lichgate, and heads off back to Blue Harbor the morning of the 6th. Let's see here. Yep, the morning of the 6th. Heading back to Blue Harbor, the party encountered Dr. Hugo Albertus Kendry and his wagon of medical elixirs. He seemed quite insightful of the party, and was yet another person familiar with the name Delmaniv. The party reached Blue Harbor by nightfall. Droll and Jerry met with Mitra Delmaniv and her 2 children, Twig, a halfling man, and Celine, a 15-year-old half-elf girl. They explained their findings to Lady Delmaniv, who expressed her suspicion that the gnome might be one Delawin Brialdi, who used to work with Lobo. The party was rewarded 50 gold pieces and 4 healing potions. They were warned not to take burials into their own hands, and that there might be a missing cockatrice loose in the forest. Getting dinner at the tavern, the party learns much about the hobgoblins and local threats from Captain Alzarod Smirk. They learned fellow Captain Dreg was trained by Nomen the Venom Slayer, a human fighter from the previous campaign. There are 2 other captains, one named autocorrect got me on Romula, who they know little about. They all serve under General Cognac the Red, a former warlord now serving Delmaniv. The following morning, the party sets off into the ruins to explore kobold territory. From the butchers, they find butcher's tools and took a book to gain proficiency with them. They explore a moneylender's called Tucker's, and mostly avoid the various traps left by the kobolds, but their presence alerted the kobolds to flee. The party salvages a significant amount of coin. They also acquired another healing potion and a potion of water breathing after an encounter with a juvenile mimic. Let's see here. 7th of chess, the evening. The party meets with the goblins of the Old City, exchanging the reassigned Droll's money for the final crate In doing so, they make contact with their goblin representative, Mr. Carbuncle. By this point, Droll the Hobgoblin has been reassigned, the player no longer with us. Carbuncle explains he's the second in command of his tribe under Lord Sot, grandson to the late Gob Emperor Crit. Sot plans to take the city for the goblins, but Carbuncle knows the folly of this plan. Carbuncle wants to ally with Boffides, use Sot to draw in the other goblin tribes, work together to retake the old city, depose Sot, and ultimately have the goblins live peacefully in the city with the other humanoids. Agreeing to this, and with plans to ally with the kobolds as well, Jerry informs Mitria Delmaniv of Carbuncle. The following day, the party is tasked by head office to investigate the ruins of the nobleman Etheridge's manor. But doing so reveals it is inhabited by an adult black dragon. The party narrowly escapes, with Jerry being rescued by a mysterious figure known as the Black Ghost. Once the party is rewarded with once back, the party is rewarded 5,000 gold pieces for surviving, some of which has gone towards constructing a longhouse for the refugees. The party agrees to keep the dragon's presence a secret so the refugees don't lose hope. The fact the dragon has not attacked the camp nor used its healthy wings to fly after them indicates it also wants to remain hidden. Possibly it senses the presence of another dragon and wants to make sure of its strength before fighting over territory. 8th of Chess, evening. Thanks to Aslan's horde person connections and the magic door connecting to head office, the party is able to have mundane goods transported to their HQ. The party met with Mayor Old Man Smith, who thanked them for all their hard work and was left wondering how they suddenly gained access to so many building supplies. Afterwards, the party met with Glimt Goldenheart, the oldest member of the clan Goldenheart at 513 years old. The blind woodworking dwarf informed them a little of world history. Almost 1,000 years ago, the Emperor Eluxium Eris of the Emsharn Empire spread out from the Adrainan continent and conquered the known world in the following centuries. One of the lasting results of this was the intermingling of races. The party also learned a great deal about dragons in the hours leading up to nightfall. Checking in with Doc Kendry reveals that his concern was over Beryl Delmaniv rather than her mother Mitria. Speaking with Mitria reveals her to be 70 years old despite her youthful appearance, and Mitria has 85 children of various races. They also learn that Blue Harbor is the most profitable port town in the land of Trasm, having been founded by the noble Etheridge family almost 200 years ago. The accomplishment was even greater, as many were fearful of the settling by the Merlin mountain range, from which countless monsters had crawled from for centuries, causing the Dark Ages. Aslan, using his newfound dragon knowledge, began sniffing people, curious to find a bronze dragon that might be intimidating the black dragon, only to realize, being so close to the ocean, everyone smells of sea salt. Speaking with Lobo and Lucas, the party deduces a powerful magic item may have given the black dragon a false positive. Such items could be located in the local sorcery school, the Etheridge estate, or the old home of Lady Githa Beetleteeth, a hag who once lived in Blue Harbor prior to the war. 9th of Ches, the following morning, the party awoke the next morning to the news of Ansel, a local farmhand, having been murdered outside the settlement wall. Briscoe County, the only man who lives outside the wall, had been arrested as the sole suspect. With the people of Blue Harbor in an uproar over the arrest, Alzerod encouraged the party to investigate and discover who the true murderer is. Investigating County's lonely home, Aslan discovered a strange creature in the toilet. So I think we can pause right there for any comments on Anything that the party wants to make comment on up till this point? Bearing in mind that Charlie and Coco are both muted.
We
Yeah, it's just to not interfere with the recording.
I understand.
we're getting the sneak peeks of El Maris and Bay and
Yeah,
I don't-
is James gonna get a company role as well if he joins Blue Harbor?
That's up to him. Probably not immediately, because that's just like a third mechanic for him to keep track of.
That's fair.
is James joining us?
I don't know. I got to talk to him more about that. He knows that we're doing the thing today, though.
Yep, slots open for whenever he's ready. So, yep, the early signs of a lot of characters that would soon arrive. A lot of plot threads for the party to look into.
Yeah, I think
Out of my personal curiosity, how far away was this when I joined?
Decent amount, because each one of these breaking points was a session itself.
Right. Am I like 20 sessions away or something?
Possibly.
I want to step through the door. I want to go see the
Well,
other headquarters.
Nothing's
I don't-
gonna happen. It's not activated.
Oh.
Yeah, it's only activated at the DM's convenience.
Yeah.
It's called plot armor, or I guess would be plot
Plot
armor.
portal.
Activation.
It's
Yeah.
made out of it's made out of story wood,
Mhm.
secured by plot iron.
Yep. They got a plot lock.
Yeah, it's got a plot lock.
All right. Well, continuing on. 9th of Ches, noon. The creature Aslan had encountered before succumbing to the Grey Plague was a Boggle, a tiny mischievous fey creature. After beating it in a game of hide-and-seek, he agreed to reveal the identity of Aslan's killer, the Scarecrow in the wheat field. Despite some difficulties, the party manages to defeat the Scarecrow and clear Briscoe of the charges. The party left a good impression on Alzarad and Romula after giving her one of May's ribbons. Speaking with Lobo, the party learns a bit more about Githa Beetleteeth, the location of her old home in the harbor area, and how she now resides in the nearby swamp town of Razorback. Jerry requested a meat salad called a Copper Dragon's Hoard from Lucas in order to glean information on Mitra Delmaneve's identity, hoping to find if she is a dragon. After speaking with her, he deduces she likely isn't one, or else all of her children will be half-dragons, rather than only her one child, Orum, who was sired by one of her ex-husbands, a gold dragon.
Who we met? Sorry.
Yep. The
Yeah,
party then
it-
decided to spend the
that's
next
holding
9
the
days
bank.
running the franchise. Sorry, was that Coco?
No, I was just remembering. He is the one that's holding the bank in.
New Pratt?
Yes.
Yes. you-
We also have a secret diary about him, but I forget what it was included. So I think it was just figuring out he was a dragon.
That might have been it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the party then decided to spend the next 9 days running the franchise. 17th of Ches, noon, heading towards the apparel shop in Kobold territory in the Old City, the party meets a young human man named Newt Pollenhart. Everything about him indicates some connection to the Fae, including access to magic. After making a hefty profit off the party, selling them 4 enchanted vials and a potion of greater restoration, he warned them of demon-worshipping cultists in the Old City. After parting, the party gathered up 250 gold pieces worth of clothing and began to make their way back to Goblin territory. 17th of Ches afternoon, Curdy and Aslan cut through no man's land into the Old City to deliver clothes to the goblins and were attacked by a pair of winter toads. Afterwards, the two met Bee Coster in the Old City. She claims to have come to Blue Harbor just before the war. Her father died during the war, and she missed the evacuation across the bridge, so she had to survive the winter in the ruins. Aslan detected a suspiciously strong scent of sea salt on her, and Curdy detected a magical aura around her, a natural shape changer. The party delivered half the salvaged clothes to Carbuncle, with him promising to set up a meeting with Lord Sot in a few days. The rest of the clothes were delivered to Owat to be handed out to the refugees. B decided to work at his tavern for the time being, much to his excitement.
For the record, despite this, he still didn't believe that this was the dragon.
Yeah. He was the one who Aslan was the one who started sniffing everyone for the smell of sea salt. When he actually did find someone who smelled very strongly of sea salt, and who would later turn out to be the dragon, he didn't believe it.
He just jumped.
Good job. You played yourself.
Mm.
Oh, you just came back.
17th of Ches evening. Aslan and Curdy head once more into the city, defeating a few grey oozes and acquiring quite a haul from the old smithy. On their way back to HQ, they bump into Lime Delmaneve, a Firbolg druid, and Aslan manages to convince her mother to fund the repairs of his new traveling forge. The following morning, Curdy talks to the retired elven ranger, Tarth Morning Whisper, about teaching him how to use butcher's tools. Jerry and May take the hirelings for a walk around town, and through Lucas, discover multiple unknown sources are using magic to observe the town. Jerry informs Mitria of this. The two agreed Bophades will continue exploring the old city, while she'll look into the Hag in Razorback. Curdy also agrees to trade information of the Forgotten Realms gods for information on the gods that used to be worshipped in Backwater. At this point, I do recall that although the company is named Bophades properly, when first introduced, the mayor erroneously calls the company Bophades, and since he was never corrected on it, everyone henceforth has called the company Bophades.
Yeah, I remember that shit. We were like, sure.
It goes further away from the both of these.
Yeah. Because there was some legal trouble way back at session 1 where you did have a produce company named Bophades, which the party would have had to deal with, but because they now legally have a distinct name that everyone knows them by, those legal troubles have not yet come up again. So you accidentally stumbled into a good thing right there. Let's see here. 19th of Ches morning. The party engaged in the spring festivities. May involved herself in the children's flower hunt, swearing vengeance on the 4 children who beat her, names included. She and Jerry partook of goaling, while Curdy danced with Lucas and the elves. Aslan dunked a goblin in the dunk tank before buying him a mug of ale, and proceeded to beat Romula at both the custard pie eating contest and the arm wrestling contest, the latter of which won him a belt of dwarven kind. The festival was briefly interrupted by a band of hill giants attracted by the smell of food and Bophades HQ, which had been painted gold to look like a giant brick from the north side. That was Jerry's fault. At the end of the day, Bophades sits down to eat dinner together, expressing great appreciation for each other's hard work. It is there that Lobo reveals to be from a country called Derosa, particularly a small gnome village near an inactive volcano. That he had used gnome pistol technology to craft the first and only 2 revolvers in the world, one of which Lorelei he carries with himself. He explains he first came to Blue Harbor in search of a wizard apprentice who murdered his own master. Not Lobo's master, the apprentice murdered the apprentice's master. An outlaw, half-elf wizard named Kylan Cobras. The following morning, Aslan sells Mitria the hill giant hair at a discount, and some further flirting from Lime. And the giant fingernails to Doc Kendry on the promise of a potion of hill giant strength on the 30th of Ches. Then, cutting through no man's land, the party had an encounter with an odd pack of goblins that resulted in them getting an ever-smoking bottle. Afterwards, they continued on to the Glickmore Sorcery Academy. 20th of chess. Accompanied by their new obviator, Subject X471, the party arrived at the anti-magic gates of Glickmore Sorcery Academy. A water weird in the fountain, blights in the garden, cultists in the self-defense room, and a shield guardian hall monitor. The party struggled into the mid-afternoon, exploring the school, collecting magic items, and learning of the staff and student body. So there you go, Fel. That's where X first came in.
Yep. And I will add to this that X, in its first session here, almost ended the world.
Yes, he accidentally stumbled across a possible doomsday object, and due to a dice roll, decided not to click the big red button.
There's a good chance I would have killed everyone for a session.
Mm-hmm. That same evening, the party continued their exploration of Glickmore. They met a Nothic with memory lost, who they dubbed Ian. They broke up a meeting between a Burbalang and a wizard, read the journals of the students, collected more magic items, styled on some breakdancing animated brooms, and spent far too long trying and failing to break into Osmoldo the Blue's tower. So Osmoldo the Blue is the best abjuration wizard alive and recognized by the wizarding community. He was the principal and headmaster of the sorcery school. He had his tower attached to the building, and the party spent a long time trying to break into there, ultimately failing. The following morning, the party had met... Yes, Coco?
Yeah, and we still have no clue on how to deal with that to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That just means he's very good at abjuration.
To be fair, I haven't thought about it since.
The following morning, the party met the traveling goblin merchant Crack. He had a goblin who couldn't speak common and was told penis means great bargains. After returning home, Aslan made use of his new traveling forge. Curdy spent the entire day making an in-depth account of the gods of the Forgotten Realms. May engaged in leisure with her hirelings, finding a new pet otter named Gnocchi. X began work on his multi-level management sales pitch. And Jerry traveled by himself to the swamp town of Razorback. On the way, he was confronted by a gassed bounty hunter who mistook him for another red-skinned winged tiefling with a funny accent. Jerry pointed him in the direction of Blue Harbor, followed by sending Siddiqui to warn Lobo. At this point, I will mention that Siddiqui is Curdy's familiar, who was sent with Jerry on this particular expedition to keep an eye on him. Smart call, Jay. In Razorback, Jerry met with the hag, Githa Beelteeth. Jerry promised to work alongside her in not only reestablishing Blue Harbor, but ensuring both would be in a position of power, public or otherwise. To seal the deal, Jerry was given a brush to deliver to a small girl with blood-red hair in Blue Harbor, a task he handed over to Snick. Lobo seemed to be fine, claiming the bounty hunter was sent away by the hobgoblins. Because Lobo is a red-skinned tiefling with a funny accent who did have wings before the war. Let's see, the following week was downtime. Jerry did research into the Merchants Guild. X established connections with B. Coster and Twig Delmaneve. Curdy gained proficiency in butcher's tools. May relaxed, and Aslan constructed a smithy stall. See here. First of Tarsak, morning. During the downtime, a cleric arrived in Blue Harbor, Dixie Jolene, a light cleric from the Church of Cabina and San Pagado.
Yay, it's me.
That's you. She was sent to Blue Harbor to help ensure its return to its former glory. It wasn't long before realizing it best to ally herself with Bophades Inc. On the 1st of the month, the party was contacted by Mr. Carbuncle. After a brief recap of their arrangement and meeting with the petulant Lord Sot, the party is introduced to their new goblin ally, Clam. He was to help them recruit goblin tribes and bring them to the Old City. Mr. Carbuncle also warned the party Sot is planning on demanding the construction of a temple to Gob Emperor Crit. After a 2-day travel to the town of Larnwick, just beyond Lichgate, the party arrived at the caves of the Nutchuck Goblin tribe. After the goblins nearly killed Clam, it was established it was best to eliminate these hostile goblins. Investigation into the caves revealed the goblins began entering a zombie-like hive mind due to the goblin trumpet fungus. Despite half the party having Grey Plague and the rest having become infected with the spores, the party cleared out the taverns, collected the loot, and rescued the captives, a handful of humans, and a small group of kobolds and green-skinned half-elves. 3rd of Tarsak evening. After burning the goblin bodies, the party returned to Larnwick to inform the townsfolk of the fungus in the cave that would need to be removed. Speaking with the rescued travelers, the party learned the green-skinned half-elves are actually a type of goblinoid called Verdan. They had been altered long ago by the One That Endures. From the Verdan, Aslan meets Livna and takes her on as a smithing apprentice. Curdy finds the gassed bounty hunter at the tavern and learns he will be heading to New Pratch to hunt his quarry. Dixie, meanwhile, was hired by Bromwood, a down-on-his-luck halfling looking to harvest from a ghost, to fund his return home. After defeating the ghost, Curdy bought the harvested goods from Bromwood and destroyed them. The following morning, the party is met by a band of bandits who Aslan pays 50 gold pieces to leave them be. That night, Dixie and Curdy overhear talk at a tavern in Lichgate, two men wondering why the coffin of their friend was lighter than he was. The two party members decide to investigate later when they have time. The party returns to Blue Harbor amidst the rain. Curdy spoke with Kix of the rescued kobolds. Though not convinced to fight on the front lines to take back the old city, they would happily lay traps to defend areas taken. Once home, Dixie had tea with Mitria, and Aslan spoke to Lobo about what to do when a Delmanive is interested in you. Lobo recommended letting her down gently before pulling his mane out, worrying over anything beyond that. Aslan also learned Lobo was also engaged to Silver Delmanive before the war broke out. The morning of the 7th, the party headed out into the Old City. Their mission was to eradicate any monsters they found settling around the shooting gallery. They were doing well until a troll set its eyes on Curdy and felled him.
Cried.
Yes, so a troll basically killed Curdy. 7th of
that one.
Yep, 7th of Tarsak afternoon. The troll and flesh golem that the party was in the process of fighting that had felled Curdy, staring down the rest of the party, are suddenly incinerated in a fireball centered on Curdy's body. Rising from the ashes of their enemies stands a new flesh and blood Curdy. Because previous to this, he was basically an animated cloak, a specter of sorts. By this point, with Curdy's resurrection, he was flesh and blood once more. Curdy claims that upon his death, he encountered the One That Is, who offered to bring him back. Though most did not recognize the new Curdy, notably Mr. Carbuncle and Mitria Delmanive did. The former explaining that she had also once died and met the One That Is. So Mr. Carbuncle had once died, met the One That Is, came back, and he's one of the only two that recognize the very distinctly new Curdy. The party has yet to discover why Mitria was able to recognize Curdy in his new form. The party returned to the HQ, enjoyed mango cake, purchased potion holsters for Curdy, Dixie, and X, and learned more about the old and new Curdy. How he was killed 400 years ago and was enlisted by Kelemvor, the Faerun god of death, to be an emissary. Now back in his original body, he no longer feels ties to his old master. The following morning, the party is hired by Farmer Autumnbrook to head to Carruthers Farm, north of Larnwick, to pick up some juggling chickens. They are given 2,000 gold pieces and are allowed to keep whatever they do not spend. The party's first stop is in Lichgate, where they proceed to investigate the Undertakers Guild. Despite complications, the party manages to learn that often only the bones are buried, with most of the bodies being eaten in secret by a ghast that lives in the basement. Curdy decides to spare him, and they all make their way to Larnwick.
That was when I decided to be stupid blind.
Oh, that the endeavors of Dixie, X, and Curdy to try and break into the Undertakers.
It worked great. It went great.
Secret agents, you are not.
No. That one went really well with Dixie and I. Mainly because of Dixie. She just managed to work everything out. But the distractions. I think was it Curdy or
Wait,
who was up front?
You and Curdy went downstairs and did the sleep thing and all that, and I'm the one that tried to act stupid and act like I didn't know what was going on to like keep him distraction.
So I remember the stuff about your grandma and stuff. Do you have that one on recording by chance?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think we were recording that one. You're like, oh, my grandma died recently. It was terrible.
Yeah, you did the grandma thing, and then I did the thing too, and I tried to like say the same thing you did, but almost. And then I said, "Yeah, I just don't know." I was just trying to act like innocent.
Yeah. So dumb. It was great.
But they died. But it was like a long time ago or something. I just remember it being hilarious and working out great.
Yeah, it was dumb.
It was Jay that came up with the grandma thing. It was hilarious.
Yes. Yes.
Trying to buy the idea of like, so tell me, why should I bury my grandmother here as opposed to another town?
Yes.
And the guild was like, okay, so we'll allow you to bury her in another town as long as the ground is hollowed. What town were you planning on burying her in? And Jay could not think of another town name. So he panicked and just left.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I stumbled in from the back, which I totally should have walked around and stumbled in from the front. He's like, "Why were you back there?"
Don't worry about it. What are you, a nerd?
So anyway, about my grandma.
Yeah.
So 10th of Tarsak, afternoon. Jerry, May, Curdy, and Dixie head to Carruthers Farm just outside Larnwick to purchase the juggling chickens. After easy negotiations, he offers up 6 juggling chickens if the party can wipe out a local cockatrice nest. The party agrees and easily does so, but they discover their old acquaintance, Newt, working alongside the half-elf wizard they had spotted at Glickmore Sorcery Academy. Jerry successfully negotiates the acquisitions of a single cockatrice egg and the wizard's spellbook, with the promise to buy a second egg from Newt if it turns out he doesn't need it for his experiments. With that, the party collects the chickens, and May begrudgingly leaves behind Seinfeld, the stand-up comedian chicken. Once back in Blue Harbor, Jerry and May go around and catch up with everyone they had missed, due to them having the Great Plague for some time. They learn about Carbuncle's encounter with the One That Is, and that Mitria seems to have no knowledge of any such encounter with such an entity. So, little bit of a mystery there. Jerry learns about Verdan culture and history from Livna, and from Alzarad, who is revealed to be the son of Farkas, a hobgoblin from Faerun from a previous campaign, that hobgoblins are uneasy around Verdan. X meets with his business partner, Scuzzmug the Knoll, and is told he must travel to New Pratch to collect a set of cookie recipes from Duncan Sourdough, Mitria's first husband. Unable to decide on who will guide them, the party elects to take the three most qualified, Wilshire, Twig, and Romula. As May passionately discussed purchasing souvenirs for virtually everyone, they discovered the concept of souvenirs was very alien to Backwater, inspiring a business venture for some of the more enterprising members.
This is such a sad tale to come.
Well, 14th of Tarsak morning. The party and their three guides leave Blue Harbor after Dixie cast Detect Good and Evil, confirming Lobo was not a fiend and Mitria was nothing listed by the spell. Because for some reason the party thought that Lobo might actually be a fiend from the lower planes, and the party's still trying to figure out if Mitria truly is human. The party started with a detour to Razorback to meet with Githa Beetleteeth, so Jerry could run some personal errands. Curdy donated blood for a later favor, and Jerry learned Backwater had been cut off from Hell due to the absence of gods being worshipped. That night in Lichgate, the party drank heavily with their guides, learning about the hobgoblins. Alzarad earned his rank and is trying to change Hobgoblin society. And Lobo performed admirably in the war and lost his wings around that time. The following day, the party left Lichgate and saved the bandit Renault and his band, who some of the party had met previously, from a green dragon wormling working with Delawin. It was then that Renault mentioned an enemy band run by a man named Valdis and offered to help take care of him. The party spent the night at Larnwick, with Renault sleeping somewhere else in secret to hide from the local law. Guard Captain Goodfellow hired the party to escort Quinster Arcus Johnlin Tallflower IV, a halfling noble, to New Pratch. Keenster promised to pay once he was returned safely. He had been hiding in Larnwick the past few months after having been saved from a slave trader by Lobo McCree. The following morning, the party encountered healing potions, quote-unquote. May was able to deduce that they were a trap after speaking with a bird. That night, the party circumvented the town of Keld to head towards Valdis's lair. Before they could even plan their entry, Twig had taken out 6 bandits keeping watch and given the party the key to the front door. Twig stayed outside with Keenster and Wilshire as the party started their assault.
Twig was just a plot device.
I wanted to make sure that every single member of each of the 3 guys, whether it be Twig, Romula, or Wilshire, could contribute to the party in some way, and you guys happened to take all 3, so...
Twig is really helpful.
Hmm.
I like Twig.
I also do want to compliment Chia on discovering that those potions of healing were, in fact, potions of poison.
Smart.
Made very good use of your abilities.
We're all gonna get poisoned without you here.
Let's see here. 16th of Tarsak evening. Upon entering the secret hideout of the bandits, Dixie promptly pacified the 2 guard dogs. May cast Pass Without Trace and turned herself into an axolotl, because May. Jerry cast Alter Self to disguise himself as one of the slain guards. Through stealth and deception alone, the party managed to wipe out half the bandits present, many of whom were sleeping. They would eventually come across a torture chamber where they caught an unscrupulous alchemist named Necrolm feeding 2 caged gibbering mouthers. So, of course, they hired him they offered him a job. Afterwards, the party came upon the main room with a half-orc sitting on a wooden throne surrounded by bandits. He would identify himself as Valdis after being nearly killed by the party. Jerry even narrowly avoiding the blast radius of Romulus' fireball that he told her to cast.
By 1 square. By 1 goddamn square.
Isn't this the fight where Romulus also ate 2 fucking ballistas?
We're getting to
That's
that.
right after. That was like before we discovered
God.
that, like the back.
Just like tanked them.
Further investigation revealed he was actually named Bujad and was to act as a stand-in for Valdis in case of such an assault. The party found the real Valdis in a secret room where he offered a chance to negotiate while having 2 large ballistae aimed at the party. Jerry proposed to work with Valdis in an effort to take out Delawin and Elamaris, offering Renault up as a lackey, much to the bandits' chagrin, who played along for the time. Later, a heated discussion made Jerry realize Valdis was more trouble than he was worth, and that if they planned to ever get rid of him, their best shot was right then. After a moment's strategizing and a hard-fought battle in which Romula took 91 points of damage in 1 round from ballistae and a sniper, I should say, the party wiped out Valdis, who had tripped on one of the guards Twig took out as he tried to flee, allowing Renault to finish him off, as well as his lieutenants, and secured a hefty amount of loot.
That was when X took the dive into the pool of coins.
Yes, there's a massive amount of coins, and X dove into it and swam around like Scrooge McDuck.
This is X's whole dream. Like, it just needs to get bigger now.
I want to know what happened to the alchemist guy. Like, he never showed up to the thing.
Correct. The party offered him a job. He said he would take it. They gave him directions to Blue Harbor, and upon the return, it turns out that the alchemist just never showed up. So, there remains a mystery as to what happened to Necrom the Alchemist.
I need a lot more custom mail.
To ask around and see what had happened to him.
16th of Tarsak, midnight. After some debate, the party decides to leave Renault in charge of enrolling the bandits of the region into New Prash's Thieves Guild to ensure another Valdis doesn't arise. The party then spent the night in Keld, where they were attacked in their rooms at the inn by Chittine assassins, narrowly surviving the encounter. The following day, the party successfully ambushed and killed Delawin. Jerry trapped her soul in a coin when he decided conventional interrogation wasn't worth the effort. Later that day, the party met with the Viscount to discuss the security of the tree in the center of the town of Keld. I think they were in Keld at the time. They were told it's a sleeping treant, no guarantee of the truth. The party accepted the story rather than find out the hard way. So that town in particular has a large tree in the center of it with signs and armed guards all around it saying not to touch it. And the party wanted to know why.
And another point where X almost ended the party.
Yes. X was willing to sneak past the guards just to touch the tree and find out the hard way. I have money on the idea that X is going to kill the entire party because he wants to fuck around and find out.
That I am probably good 50-50 chance.
The following day, still in Keld, Jerry followed a lead on where Elamaris' hideout might be and immediately gave up on the idea of assaulting the location upon seeing the many arachnoid horrors in the area.
Yeah, fastest nope that he ever had.
Yeah, Coco, I don't think you actually gave a good description to the rest of the party members as to what exactly you saw there.
I don't think I ever did, yeah.
So you did see a very large camp filled with ettercaps, giant spiders, and a spider the size of Godzilla.
Yes, there's a giant ass hole, and I was like, oh, that's just like go deep down. And then I looked down, and there was just like giant eyes in the middle, and I'm like, oh shit, that's just a nest. Fuck that. I'm never coming close to this place ever again.
Let's see here. 19th of Tarsak morning. The following day, the party made it safely to Grimfield, where they learned the local count is a vampire who accepts blood in lieu of money for taxes. Let's see. The vampire's name, by the way, is indeed Count Morbentime. I was personally proud of that. Yeah, I was proud of that. Everyone gave me shit for it. The day after, they arrived in the small hunting village of Alchemy. A small hunting village where they could not shake the feeling of being watched. There, Romula played cards with 3 individuals, Ganarak, Urag, and McGurk. These 3 characters I included because they were references to NPCs in a game that Ian, who played Aslan, was in, but by this point, Ian had to step out due to real-life obligations. So, it's a shame that by the time that he would have seen some familiar NPCs, he already had to step away from the table. Ganarak and McGurk, at the very least, I do have plans on returning in a later campaign, so you guys can actually get a proper introduction to them for the first time. On the party's way to Helmfirth, Dixie purchased a neutered pygmy owlbear from a hunter seeking to safely relocate the invasive species. In Helmfirth, the party met with Justin Dennick, who is a sorcerer, a clockwork soul sorcerer, and learned that the reason that the locals in Helmfirth are behaving mysteriously. So basically, all the other towns had some sort of weird secret to it, except for Helmfirth. It was very boring and normal. So in order to give the idea that the people there are interesting, they started acting like a bunch of weirdos to make travelers appear, like, get the impression that the town is mysterious when it's really not. That was the joke. They also learned that the local turnip farm was the home to Wendell X, another sorcerer from the academy that they read the journal of. On their way to Uttersfield, the party was attacked by and nearly killed by a pair of invisible stalkers, likely sent by Elamaris. Once in Uttersfield, the party was given the VIP treatment by their innkeeper. However, once they awoke the following morning, they found themselves in the Shadowfell. It wasn't long before they fled the town to escape a zombie horde.
You're welcome.
23rd of Tarsak morning, the party managed to keep well ahead of the zombie horde and investigated Shadow Uttersfield. Among the many horrors, they encountered a Shatterkai named Treadle. He single-handedly dispatched the horde as it paid him no attention. He offered them a way home in exchange for Shadowfell Sage. Upon their return, the party purchased... Yeah, so the party did manage to take out some zombies. They got the Shadowfell Sage, and were able to give a safe means of return home by the Shatterkai. Upon their return, the party purchased the now abandoned Gilded Rose Inn where they had slept in, deduced that it was the foul magic of Elamaris who had sent them away, and eventually headed off to the next town to reconnect with their companions. Because they had learned that there are 3 instances of Uttersfield in Trasm, and depending on which of the 3 inns in Uttersfield you sleep in will determine which of the 3 Uttersfield around Trasm you will wake up in. So the traveling companions could not safely sleep in any of the inns without risking going into another region or possibly waking up in the Shadowfell. In the next town, called One Horse Town, the party had encountered the amazing horse Weeblin Bob, who, yeah, there's a whole story behind Weeble Bob that I'm not going to get into.
He is amazing.
He can turn into a plane. And the party met up with their companions who were drinking with Lime. Lime explained the local druids held no fondness towards Elamaris and that he wouldn't operate so closely to the town for that reason. So they were out of range of Elamaris' influence for the time being. 25th of Tarsak, morning. The party leaves One Horse Town, momentarily inconvenienced by a mysterious casting of the Grease spell. Never found out what the deal with that one was. Along the way, the party was stalked by Chitine assassins. One of these pursuers was slain outside of Berkhamsted by a dwarf named Sledge. Using their sending stone, May confirmed with Lucas that Sledge had indeed worked with Lobo in the past. However, it appears that Lobo had left the HQ 9 days prior. Sledge had led the party to a safe house where he locked them in the basement with an anti-magic field that would rapidly fill with water. Though an enemy of Elamaris, Sledge regards himself as an enemy of Lobo as well, calling him a deceiver with plans to destroy the world, and that the party must be killed before they can be used towards those ends. However, the party was saved by the town guards responding to the sounds of gunshots. Sledge had gone missing, but Jerry chased after a mysterious figure who seemed to be Lobo himself with his wings returned. Losing sight of the figure and keeping their suspicions to themselves, the party investigated the town and questioned the gassed bounty hunter, now known as Kurbuk. While the locals believe the Berkhamsted Devil kills people at random, Kurbuk believes that he's only killing criminals. With few leads and time growing on, the party decided it was best to continue on to New Prech. Even from a distance, they could see the towering Hocus Pocus Academy. So, that was the first time the party had an encounter with the Berkhamsted Devil.
I still want to know more about the Berkhamsted Devil, but that's just me. We still haven't figured that fully out.
Nope.
And I'm just remembering that Sledge existed. I'm like, that piece of shit.
Yes, Sledge was a piece of shit. Coco can attest to that.
When enemies run away, my God.
Yeah, it's just I don't know if he had a vendetta against the party, but just everything he would make, it was neither consistent with his own character nor consistent with what the party just said that we would be doing.
Right. Very uncooperative player.
Yeah, his character's thing was supposed to be a pacifist. So he was supposed to always search for what's it called? A diplomatic way out first. But even after making clear that the enemies / people that we are in front of are not to be cooperate with, he would still keep on going for it to an extent where he would take a lot of damage before the fight would start and then just run away because he took damage.
Well, in particular, his thing was, I'm not going to hurt anybody unless they hurt me first. So the enemies were like, okay, we're just going to kill your party members as you just stand there and watch.
Yeah, as well. Which was it? I think it was with the... what's it called? With the bear? Wasn't there something with the bear where he...
Oh, Elamaris had the thing with the bear.
Oh, no, that was Elmer's. Okay. Then never mind.
26th of Tarsak, evening. The party finally arrived in New Prech by late evening. They stayed the night at Keenster's home. The following morning, he pays them for their efforts and vows to be a better, more generous person. He aims to help rebuild Blue Harbor, and henceforth the party has use of his home and personal carriage whenever they visit the city. X is formally titled Captain of the Porcelain Maiden, a bathtub.
Which, how did it actually happen? I forget. What was the circumstances that led to this?
because of the fact that although they had beds for everyone, you did not feel confident about not seeping into the bed because you were playing an ooze person, so you elected to sleep in the bathtub. And
All
from
right.
there, you wanted to adopt a noble title because now you're friends with a noble. He said, sure. And the title that everyone just agreed on because of the circumstances was to call you the captain of the Porcelain Maiden.
Love it. When we're gonna find the Porcelain Maiden, and I'm just gonna walk up and show my noble name and be like, I'm the captain now. I noble decree.
We shall see. The party starts by shopping treats and clothes for their animals, many books on various topics, a draft horse and cart. May set about ordering souvenirs to be delivered back to Blue Harbor. Jerry visited various guilds, learning of their pseudo-underworld, and deciding that rather than isolate Blue Harbor from the guilds, an all but impossible task, he would work to funnel their efforts through him.
Yep.
He also hired the local adventurers to scavenge the old city. They would work under Wilshire, and Little Finding Salvage would become a Beaufidese subsidiary. Curdy would offer up his sword to some inquisitive blacksmiths to reforge, and in turn purchased an elven foil. Romula would part with the group, pursuing her own mission in town. The party then traveled to the Tokens of Confection Bakery, meeting Vitalaire Delmenive, Demetrius' first son, as well as her first husband, Duncan Sourdough. Afterwards, they traveled to Hocus Pocus Academy, meeting Lateral Arch-Chancellor Repharim Formoston the Brown, Paranoid Demnir Osmoldo the Blue, and amiable Saboria Sorbifolia the Black. They learned much about the entity of death. A lot to unpack in that session.
It was such a sad session.
It was a lot.
Yes, the party read the letter that was Duncan Sourdough's life story. Tears were shed.
That was sad.
More.
We should read that right now again. No.
I will be reading that as a separate video, I assure you.
Where's your picture?
Yep, so the party also went to the Hocus Pocus Academy. They met some of the three of the most big-name wizards in the world. And yeah, that was the first time that Romula had to part with the party for her own pursuits, which, hey, this is something that wouldn't have happened if you decided not to take her.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Next session was 27th of Tarsak evening. Continuing his research into Opal's companions,
Just make it
Curdy learned that Shigoki was sent to look for the gnomes of Underfoot.
on this way.
Additionally, the party learned that Death had told Sabraria the Stormveil was created by the gods for an unknown purpose. So yeah, to clarify, the party from the previous campaign before Blue Harbor with this crew, the most famous one of them was Opal because he went about as the highest level cleric in living memory, peddling his own religion, and became a Jesus-like figure, overshadowing all of his companions who never sought out to become as famous. So
I don't know. Vinaigrette got pretty famous.
Yeah, but only towards the mystical beasts. Folks.
And one who knocks.
And the one.
Yes.
Well,
I
she is.
am the one who knocks.
Yeah.
yes, the companion Vinaigrette was the one who knocks. She never had an interest in fame, only cute animals.
Yep.
You also had the monk Shigoki, who went looking for gnomes to help him build an interdimensional way station. Also, these countries and continents that the campaigns take place in, is cut off from the world at large by the Stormveil, a massive wall of storm clouds that surround the ocean. Let's see here. After purchasing some magic items from the auction house, the party retired to Keenster's, where they met Lucian Rotland and Balthazar Etheridge, the latter of whom is Lord of Blue Harbor. Balthazar expressed great appreciation to both of these before needing to lie down, having spent the last several months running himself ragged, trying to get help for Blue Harbor. Lucian offers the idea of seeking out the gods for help. 5 days travel from New Pratch in the Imperial Timberland is said to be the Temple of Ytterlir, which many have tried and failed to find. Apparently, the Ytterlir Pantheon is the same as the One Pantheon, including such members as the One That Is and the One That Endures, and to the party above game's suspicion, possibly even the One Who Knocks. Let's see here. Before leaving for the town of Badass, since Romula had not returned, the party checked in with the Hobgoblin Tavern, known as the Wandering Mountain, and verified that Romula was sent to Badass on her own mission. The Wandering Mountain is also a reference to the last campaign, where they had a mountain that was able to teleport around.
Yep.
That was cool.
Later, on their way to Badass, the party was passed by a speeding carriage. Then, in town, the party met up with Romula, who claims to be looking for a man named Mariker Rask. Then, the party decided to break into a home they decided was suspicious. Violently forcing their way inside, the party narrowly avoids capture by the guards. During the assault, Curdy managed to sneak into the basement. There, he was knocked out by a triggered glyph of warding and captured. Hiding out at the inn, Jerry and May are approached by the perceptive Captain Bucott to take out a prominent slaver called Skrull Scars Burton. Meanwhile, X was approached by a stranger, hiring him for the same task. Taking the stranger to Romula, it's quickly deduced that the stranger was Rask himself, looking to be rid of his boss. Romula removed Rask to interrogate him elsewhere.
When the party all what gave that away?
I believe it was that. If I recall correctly, it was that Rask had a very distinctive scar on his face.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, because I was like, yeah. Let's go. Let's go into this party. We'll talk about this meeting with him. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. When the party reconvenes and deducing that the home that they assaulted was Burton's safe house and Curdy was being held captive, they collect Romula, who also has an interest in Scars Burton. Rask claiming that he knows the information that she wants. 28th of Tarsak evening, fighting their way to Scar's safe room. When the party is just outside the door, Curdy misty stepped to safety and released a shatter spell into the safe room, killing Scars, much to Romulus' chagrin.
Yeah.
Good job, Jay.
Yeah.
After finally opening the door, they gave them... After finally opening the door that gave them greater trouble than the guards that they had fought through themselves, they let the Hobgoblin bodyguards go. Bucott arrived to warn the party to leave before more town guards arrived. Romula left empty-handed, Scar's ledger offering nothing helpful, but Curdy acquired a rug of smothering. Upon Romulus' return to the safe house, Rask was also freed by an unknown third party. The following morning, the party was met by Bucott, who informed the party the town guards would ignore any transgressions from the previous days. However, subtle clues informed the party that this Bucott is different from the man that they had met yesterday, the latter possibly being an imposter. Apparently, the ledger was dropped off by an anonymous female human. With that, the party headed off with their newly acquired badass horses. Passing through Skargness, the party arrives outside Greycott that evening. The town itself currently inhabited by plague characters in denial of the current situation. The party is allowed to spend the night for free on the outskirts with the encampment, provided the following morning they chase off some orcs and ogres from a nearby river. Doing so, they gained an additional monetary reward, as well as 2 new pets, a water ribbon dragon for May, and a duck for X. Yeah, I will compliment the party on doing a pretty good job of taking care of the orcs and ogres on that one. Using enchantment and illusion magic to incite the ogres to fight each other.
Nice.
See here. Further, on the 30th, the party continued through Axminster, arriving in Farhill. There, they spent the night with the jovial Dr. Letlive Zygomaticus, Twig's father. The following morning, the party manages to find the Temple of Ydalir and discover that they were followed by Finnan Brightmantle, an old friend of Curdy's. He was accompanied by an adventuring group called the Gold Standard, on word that Fox the Necromancer had already arrived. I will add to it that there were words scribbled above the temple's doors. Those who pursue the light cast a shadow through which evil may follow. Leading to the question: how was Fox able to find this place first, and whether or not the Gold Standard might be the evil that followed in the party's wake?
Yeah.
We're trying to build.
Let's see here. Greengrass, the spring holiday morning. The group split up shortly after entering the temple, with both of these taking the side offering puzzles as opposed to the side offering combat where the Gold Standard had entered. During their excursion, the party learned a bit of the Ydalir pantheon and saw visions of various individuals across the world. Once past the puzzles, the party encountered Fox the Necromancer, who used a magic ring to teleport to safety, leaving the ring behind. With the help from Gold Standard, the party defeated the rogue undead that Fox had been accompanied with, and gained access to a superconductor runestone, Timora's deck, and a ring of spree wishes.
Timora's deck was the deck of many things.
It was the joke deck of many things.
Ah.
Yeah. Timora's deck. All accounts to identify this deck reveals it to be a deck of many things until a card is pulled from it, and then you hear a woman's laughter, and then you are able to identify it as just Timora's deck. It's just a prank, bro.
It's great because we actually pulled cards and found that out. And then we did it again. We got an actual deck.
Yep. So you had various informative or amusing visions at the Temple of Ydalir. I think I did find it amusing because God knows I just laugh at my own jokes all the damn time. Of the Gold Standard having fought their way through combat, they are bloodied, bruised, their armor pitted. They are exhausted and haggard by the time they arrive. They see the party fighting a horde of undead. They're exasperated. And then they see on the far wall, oh, there's gold. They immediately stand up straight, their wounds heal, their armor straightens itself out, and they are ready for battle once again. They're as mercenary as they come. Let's see here. By the 4th of Myrtle, the party returned to New Pratch. X decided to keep the Ring of Spree Wishes, while Rotlin worked on an appropriately worded wish to minimize any harm done. Because the thing about the Ring of Spree Wishes, it's not a Ring of 3 Wishes. The Ring of Spree Wishes, after Fox had used it the once, it holds 2 wishes left, and whatever wish is made on it will intentionally be twisted to fuck over the Wishmaker.
Which for Fox worked out okay. He got alive.
He just lost
stuff.
everything he was carrying, including some very valuable undead warriors.
Yeah. The reason I kept it was you never know.
The party also opened individual accounts at the New Pratch Bank, saved Geralmon, and accepted a job to exorcise a banshee from a local townhouse so that the bank may repossess it. Pun. 4th of Mortal evening, the party's last night in New Pratch saw the exorcising of Kythera Mardint's townhouse. The following evening, the party saved Ebthys, a the following evening, the party would actually be in Berkhamsted, and they saved Ebthys, a tiefling glassblower, from being hanged, wrongly accused of being the Berkhamsted devil. I am still impressed that you guys managed to pull that off.
I remember that one. That was the one where we were trying to figure out how to, get everybody to look this way so we could save you.
Like, it was a close call, like 20 times in like not even the span of 6 seconds. That was crazy.
A lot of
ever smoking bottle really helped there.
Yeah.
magic, a lot of successful dice rolls, clever uses of magic items that the party had acquired over the campaign, managed to save Ebthys without being caught while he was on the scaffolding, surrounded by not only hundreds of witnesses, but Kirbuk the bounty hunter himself.
Yep.
And we broke into his house.
Let's see here. Kirbuk the Ghast bounty hunter planned to use the execution of an innocent to draw out the true Berkhamsted devil. Let's see here. Yeah, so the party managed to take Ebthys to a warehouse to hide him. They were planning on taking him to Blue Harbor because they decided that he was not safe in Berkhamsted anymore. The party did break into Ebthys' house, where they had an encounter with Kirbuk, where Kirbuk would actually explain his whole plan. The following morning, Ebthys was exonerated. A mysterious third party posed as him and turned themselves in while the devil made a public appearance elsewhere. The party left Ebthys contemplating moving to Blue Harbor. I know Coco was pulling his hair out over that one.
Like, the more I think about this one specifically, the more I think that the Berkhamsted Devil is an organization rather than just somebody.
Hmm?
But we'll never know.
Who's to say that
maybe
the devil itself couldn't be a shapeshifter as well?
I mean, he could be many things, but it feels more appropriate of having like a bunch of shapeshifters or like people with like access to trick magic in order to trick people into thinking they're the same people. But like it's, but yeah.
Yet one of the many mysteries of Backwater yet to be solved. Let's see, 2 nights later, the party arrived at Uttersfield. They hired a retired bard, Joel Synod, to manage the Gilded Rose Inn. Another applicant, a gnome tinkerer named Niner Irondriver, was encouraged to travel to Blue Harbor. The third applicant, a little girl named Thrakkerzad, was sent on her way as the party had no use for her.
Much to my disapproval.
The demon.
Yes, the sleep paralysis demon. By the 11th, the party made their way to Kild, intent on killing Elamaris. 11th of Myrtle, evening. The party arrives in Kild, sneaks in through Elamaris' secret exit, and manages to kill him and defeat his minions. Among the many magic items salvaged from his hideout was a true deck of many things. Dixie pulled the Comet, which means that if she beats the next fight by herself, she levels up. May got the Jester, getting her an instant level up. Curdy got the Star.
+2 to any stat.
Right, thank you. X got the Vizier. Can't remember what that one was.
I'll pull it up. It's an ability I can use.
All right. Oh, yeah, that's where you get to ask any one question and get a true answer to it.
Yep.
You can
Anytime
ask
within 1 year of
Mitra.
drawing this card, you can ask a question, yada, yada, yada.
You can
Yep.
ask Mitra who she really is.
I can. But we're waiting. We're working when we need it. But, yeah.
Geralmon pulled Dungeon, removing him from the party. Had to do an entire campaign to save his ass.
Hey, I'm special.
Got a lot
Yeah,
of
I
I
almost
made-
killed him.
Yeah.
We almost ended me like twice.
I was like mega crit you.
It took a lot of convincing you to not do the one thing that would just kill my
Yeah.
ass again.
Yeah.
For the people listening, he was actually in a magical sphere that was a very powerful power source. And in that other campaign, Jay's character was thinking, maybe I should just empty my double barrel shotgun into this big glowing orb thing.
With adamantite rounds and a crit.
Right. So there is the possibility of the entire thing going nuclear, killing not only the entire party, but also Jerry.
Yeah.
I still think we should have shot it, but oh, then big boom.
That would have been lame.
Yes, as we all know, it's very lame to have a TPK.
But big.
Yeah, only lamos cause TPKs.
Let's see. They convinced a bar patron to pull a card, despite full disclosure, getting the flames, which you remain safe from, as Backwater is presently cut off from the Hells.
Basically, Devil's pissed off at him and wants to kill him, but Devils can't reach him. So,
Yep. So an innocent person is now being targeted by a devil because of X's idea, who, bearing in mind, he's also being controlled by a guy who has already bragged about, on multiple occasions, trying to set off a doomsday device, and is disappointed that he's not responsible for killing an entire party of players.
I'm not disappointed.
Vel still insists that he's not an evil player.
I'm just a little. Look, you put a button on something that says "Do not touch." It makes you want to touch it.
That's true.
See?
So this is also Chia talking.
If I had known what that device did, I would have done some stuff. I wouldn't have touched it necessarily, but I would have moved some plants around.
One of your greatest methods of defense is that the previous most evil person in the party before I showed up agrees with me.
Who?
What about
Me.
You?
I think it was
Norman?
Yeah, we still got to do me a little side battle so I can get my so the my card works.
Right. Let's see here. Returning to Blue Harbor, Getha Beelteeth was given Delawin Soul Coin. The party spent the evening catching up with everyone in town.
Friendship.
And that was posted a year ago tomorrow.
we didn't have a recap for the last session we did. We did one session before Christmas.
In Blue Harbor?
Yeah. Because you put one of my favorite things so far in the entire game is you replaced Clyde with Elmaris.
Yeah, that was actually part of the Christmas one shot.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we did have a technically 2-session one shot where we popped back over to the Blue Harbor characters just briefly so the party could save Backwater's version of Christmas.
I want more crap like that. Like replacing Clyde with.
I mean, you did then immediately have Elmaris get removed.
Yes, because a character X hates that. I love that as a player. Love that it was done.
Oh, thank you. I'll be sure to find more ways to torture X.
I have. Well, it's also like the inclusion of Clyde. You've been annoyed by Clyde and then made use of it. For the recording, one of the early sessions back at the Sorcerer Academy, my first one, I got a Headband of Intellect, and I have a very dumb character, so made him very smart, and decided that my Headband of Intellect was going to be a voice in my head named Clyde.
And then get the Beelteeth with access to Elmaris' soul, implanted that into the Headband of Intellect, so now he literally has a voice in his head.
And it's a very evil voice.
Yes. That encourages some of the evil things. X wants to do a multi-level management thing. You can't tell me that he's not evil.
Just wants money.
Next up, NFTs.
Look, you could have just convinced the dragon to let me swim in the horde, and then I would have been fine. That would have all been done. But nope. Now I gotta build my own horde.
Which you can do that legally. There's options.
This is legal. It's just not great.
Actually, it's technically not it's not legal. Mitria made that very expressly clear to you. That's why she hired Scuzzmug to alter the arrangement so that way it is technically sort of legal.
Look, it's like, you know how like the government works with the Yakuza because it prevents something worse from happening. It's a lesser evil.
No.
This is the logic I had Elamaris deliver to you.
Yep.
It's not slavery if I force them to pay me to work for me. This is the logic he operated under, and he was a villain for it. You're following the same logic, but insisting you're a good guy, just like he did.
I'm selling cookies.
And he's just employing people.
I'm even giving back to the community. We're gonna do community funds that provoke perks and parties and.
I guess. No.
No. No.
Elamaris opened up a business opportunity for you because if he hadn't killed that innocent inn owner, you wouldn't have the Gilded Rose right now.
I think that was someone else that wanted that. I think it was Gia.
Don't bring me into this.
So,
I don't think it was my idea to buy the tavern. It was I know Gia wanted to name it something like around balls.
But
or
it's very
something.
much like the party is like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. No one
Yeah.
stopped me. I didn't think it would be a bad thing. I just wanted let's make business.
no,
Exactly.
I'm not saying buying the inn is bad. That's fine. I'm just saying Elamaris' logic would be, hey, you got an inn out of it, so it was a good thing I killed that innocent innkeeper.
No.
It's just seeing the silver lining in the evil things I do, ergo I'm not a bad guy. I'm giving back to the community too by throwing weapons at them.
And sending spider assassins to kill people. That's so
Exactly.
good.
Right.
Colonialism.
Giving a reason for the guards to be continued to be employed.
I never thought of it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Again, Chia was the evil player until Vel showed up.
Me?
Yes.
You like to torture people.
I do not like to torture people.
You like to not give them healing if they're not nice to you.
That's not my fault.
Chia, you literally were half the reason I had to invoke the no torture rule in this game.
And the murder hobo. Remember the murder hobo she did?
Yeah, when you guys did the house invasion, she was the one who actually murdered one of the occupants.
It was an oopsie. I didn't do it on purpose.
You call me evil for just wanting to make some money.
It was an oopsie.
Donald Trump just wants to make some money.
True.
Twice in America.
It's always America. Yeah.
So, gotta stop the recording right there.